Hello and welcome to the Game Week 30 edition of the FPL Go podcast. I am your host Matthias, and with me today I have activated my not free hit chip, the wildcard chip. We've both activated actually, both me and Kevin. But he's my assistant manager or my co-host on this podcast. So Kevin, how are you? How excited are you for international break to finally be over and your wildcard to come into fruition again in the second part of the season?
You know, I've always made a joke that international break is like one of the worst diseases in the world and in world football, but this was a international break that actually delivered a lot of unfortunate injuries too, which caused
As
me
always.
to actually wild card, but some really good football as well and some really cool goals. I mean, obviously, as someone who appreciates world football, that includes, watching Lamine Yamal do stuff for Spain, Xavi Simons in the same game getting goals, and then you have the Rafinhas of the world making statements about beating Argentina and the snot out of them and blah 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 to lose 4-1, and Enzo Fernandez, one of the people that everyone seems to want to work in FPL. Whenever he puts the Argentina jersey, he all of a sudden, becomes into prime Xavi. So I don't understand what
Let's not go
happens
that
in
far.
these. He is. Look, I wouldn't go that. I wouldn't go that far, but he is really good for Argentina, and
Yeah.
I actually rate him as a football player. As a human being, maybe less considering what he tried to do to his baby mama, but nevertheless, what was the original question? International break? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great. And it's good to be back with regular league football again. And yeah, I think there's going to be some interesting twists and turns for these last, I guess, 2-3 months of football.
For sure. You did mention Fernandes, not Bruno Fernandes though, who was the main guy of Game Week 29. He's also the headliner of this podcast episode, basically, because of the Manager of the Week, which we'll get to. That's why this says Happy Father's Day, because there's a father involved here as well. Bruno Fernandes is also a father, and I think actually it was just Father's Day in Portugal. So yeah, happy Father's Day to Bruno Fernandes and someone else who's a dad who we'll get to eventually. But before we get into that, let's go to someone who's not a father as of yet, I think, at least, Kevin. We'll go to your team, your Game Week 29 squad, and you managed to get 54 points minus the 8 points for the 3 transfers that you did. You did take 2 hits to bring in Bruno Fernandes and Haaland, who both banged and did pretty well. It's just the matter of captaincy, where Fernandes would have been the better captain, obviously, but it made sense at the time to choose Haaland as your captain. But in the end, decent score, especially seeing as it is a blank game week. You were not expected to get that many points in that game week, and the transfers worked out as well. So how do you feel about the game week in Game Week 29? Even though it's a pretty long time ago, so it might be a bit hard to remember what happened exactly. But yeah, what was your feeling in general of Game Week 29?
I think generally speaking, I can't be too upset. I think I feel very lucky because not by you per se, but I was, advised against like going -8 basically. And I was just like, well, for me, it was more like, I definitely want Holland. I definitely want Bruno when he's in the form of his life. And just having those two uh, worked out brilliantly. Of course, Chris Wood should have worked. It's unbelievable that, in a game where they won by like four, like what, they had
4-0, I
four or
think.
five goals
Yeah.
or something like that, right? Yeah, so they scored. So even like Jota, who played like 2 minutes, got the score and all this type of stuff. So I feel a little bit hard done by with Chris Wood because had he scored as well, I would have said, suck my balls. I did everything correct. Blah 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 blah. And you know what? Like I can't not be angry in the situation. Like, yes, the Chris Wood thing was a bit early when I did the transfer, but it was like, what, Gakpo's not going to play and he's not going to not go down in price and all this type of stuff. So I
Yeah.
initially did Chris Wood. Then I was just like, crap, Bruno Fernandez is that guy. And Palmer hadn't done anything. And then I was very lucky that Palmer didn't end up playing.
Yeah. It
So,
was against Arsenal
and
anyway, but
sure. And yeah, Leicester, Ipswich, all these teams suck ass. So like that's why I aimed for players who were playing facing those teams and all this type of stuff. So like I can't be that angry considering, I went what three players who didn't play for three players that did play, and two of them did pretty decently. So I can't be too upset. Of course, it would have been nicer if I had Captain Bruno, but like if you sort of mix and match and you take away the points from the captaincy and etc. Like I don't think there was that many that comboed with both like I did. I think most people either went for one or the other. So
Yeah.
I feel pretty good having gone with it because like imagine if I hadn't actually taken Palmer out for Bruno Fernandes, I'd be fucking livid.
Yeah, that's true. And also, like Chris Wood not scoring actually sort of benefited you as well because he was owned by most people, and quite a lot of people had him captain as well. So I think you might have actually lost points like in total, or lost rank, I should say, in total if Chris Wood had scored anyways. So yeah, that was sort of like one of my gripes with the whole Wood and Haaland thing. Like if you go for both, I guess it sort of could work. Like if Wood had scored like 2 or 3 goals, which he could have done. Then you would have been better off with him than without him, obviously. But yeah, you were always going to captain someone else if you went for Haaland. But either way, I think your transfers in the end worked out. You used a -8 hit, but at the same time, you also got 31 points back from Fernandes and Haaland. So yeah, fair dues. Decent game week, all things considered, especially with all the stuff you had going into the game week as well, with some injuries and suspensions and stuff as well. So. Yeah, pretty good game week all around for you. But there are people that have had even better game weeks. One of them being Kimo, our former co-host on this podcast, the co-creator of the FPL School podcast, who got 60 points. He also brought in Fernandes. He also brought in Wood. He did not bring in Haaland. He had Marmoush, however, with 12 points. But he did captain Chris Wood as well. So yeah, that was sort of his downfall again. That's why I also had at the beginning always captain Bruno Fernandes, because yeah, that would have been the play this week. It has been the play for me twice this season when I've gotten 17 points from him, both in game week 29 and in game week 12 or something when he played Leicester as well. Captain him both times against Leicester with 17 points in each of those games, which is amazing. But yeah, even still, decent game week for Kimo. But as you can see, it could have gone better, especially if you had just kept Wissa over getting Wood. Then he would have had even more points, and also would have probably been forced to captain either Bruno Fernandes or Marmoush, which would have been better than Chris Wood, obviously. So in the end, could have been better, but 60 points is still a good return this game week with only 2 free transfers made, no minus hits even taken here. Kimo has a lot of chips left as well, only triple captaincy chip used so far. Wildcard is available for him for this game week if he wants to. Free hit, bench boost, Assman, chip, all those are available for Kimo. So I think it's looking pretty good for Kimo overall. But yeah, what did you make of Kimo's game week? And yeah, with his team, would you have done any differently, do you think? Do you think you would have brought in Haaland for hit in this case as well? Or do you think, I don't know, what's your thoughts with this team where Marmoush is already in the team, for example?
Yeah, I mean, if you have belief and you're actually Egyptian, I probably would have captained the Egyptian player, but that's just me. No, no, like it's fair enough that he captained Chris Wood, and I think he might have been influenced. Let's be real, by a lot of content creators who were thinking the same alongside him. And to be honest,
Typical Kimo.
considering the score line as well, it's a bit unlucky that Chris Wood captaincy didn't work out.
Yeah.
You would expect that the third, fourth best FPL asset this year would have done something and didn't, unfortunately. My only gripe with this is that like I originally brought Chris Wood, and then as the sort of days went by and all this type of stuff right before I ended up getting Holland and Bruno, and it was very tough for me to pick between the two. I think I end up going with Holland, A, because he is 15 million, but also because I thought he could easily get a brace at the very least, and maybe should have. But I think, it's hindsight, but I
Yeah.
probably would have captained Fernandez over Wood, even if those were my two transfers as well. I think
He was your vice captain, right?
Bruno's. Yeah, yeah, he was my vice captain. Like
Yeah.
I was never. It was always a toss up between him and Holland when I ended up doing it.
Yeah.
So so clearly it was also his alternative as well. So it's a shame that he couldn't switch it in the end because yeah, Bruno was in the form of his life and all this type of stuff. Like on hindsight, like I also feel pretty stupid not to have done it. But my thinking was also Holland's playing at home, he's playing away. Like I don't think Leicester are gonna win because they fucking suck. But
Yeah, they're
maybe
awful.
he won't be able to do as much damage, and then of course he did. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, I think that's the only thing that I can like getting in Wood fine. But captaining him when he can be really inconsistent, like, oh, Liverpool comes to town. Okay, let me score the only goal. I get 9 points. But then when he goes to play away, it's like, okay, 2 points. And then whenever he plays Everton again, he'll get like 2 goals or whatever. So, um, yeah, that's the only thing I can sort of give him shit for. But
yeah,
you know what, 60 points in a blank game week. I always said 60 points should be a good average to get any week. So to
yeah.
get that in a blank game week and stuff, great. Just a shame that Wissa was the one that he sold, I guess.
Yeah, could have done without that one for sure. But yeah, I sort of get the allure with Chris Wood, especially seeing as they had a really good match there against Ipswich, Nottingham Forest. You always say, always target Ipswich, and I guess that's what
Yep.
Kimo did. But yeah, didn't work out this time. Could have worked out. I think Wood actually, like, I don't know in terms of XG and stuff, but Holland only scored basically the penalty, and that was it pretty much. Like, he didn't really do much
Mm.
other than that in this game. So I think easily Chris Wood could have outscored Holland, but for Kimo's case, didn't really have Holland. It was between Wood and Fernandes, I guess, and yeah, Fernandes. The difference in the end turned out to be form because yeah, they had equally or pretty good fixtures, both of them, but Fernandes was just in better form and he managed to get the points this time as well. That was Chris Wood's third blank in a row, I think. So he's sort of like struggling for form, and now he's injured as well, which is going to be interesting to see for what we do with our plans going forward as well. But let's move on to the main man of this week, the main man of the podcast as well, the manager of the week, which is none other than Jan Banan, which is not his the real last name because this is actually my dad who became manager of the week before any one of us did, which is kind of interesting because I did mention always Captain Fernandes, and that's basically what he does. He always captains Bruno Fernandes. That's why he's down in like the 4 or 5 millions just about in terms of overall rank. He has not had Salah the whole season. He's captained Bruno Fernandes almost every single game week. And it hasn't really worked out, but this time around, he did a free hit. He backed his guys from Man United and West Ham. West Ham boys didn't really do as much, but he also had a Norwegian striker, not Holland. He had Strand Larsen with 13 points. So he did mention Kimo should have gone for his countryman in Salah, or not Salah, in Marmoush. For the captaincy points, but my dad did not follow that same order in terms of Holland. Didn't even have Holland in his team because he's not really a big fan of Holland, even though he is Norwegian. But he, as always, captain Bruno Fernandes for 34 points. On top of that, had Milenkovic with a goal and an assist. And for a long time, it looked like he was going to get a clean sheet as well, which would have been a massive score. Also had Diogo Dalot, who had the assist for the Bruno Fernandes goal that took Bruno Fernandes over the top, especially at that time when we were all like sort of worried that he was going to lose the second assist that he got in the game, which he luckily kept. And then Strand Larsen with the 13 points as well on top of that. So a massive score. Also had Chris Wood in the team, which is when I realized that Chris Wood would struggle this game week, because I think my dad has had Chris Wood in his team like 3 times, brought him in, and then sold him the next week after he had blanked. So I figured he had jinxed Chris Wood anyways, so I was pretty happy to see that, seeing as I didn't go for Chris Wood myself. But yeah, 92 points on the free hit for my dad. So yeah, your brother has been manager of the week. My dad has been manager of the week. Probably some chemo relative has been manager of the week without us knowing as well at some point. So yeah, us 3 podcast creators really have to step up and get the manager of the week at some point. But not this time around. 92 points for my dad. So yeah, what do you have to say about the team in general? What do you like and not like about the team and the selections for this team?
I mean, generally speaking, a pretty solid effort, especially considering the fact that Milinkovic was so close to getting like banana point. Like 11 is great, but he almost got, you know, this after this after this. So, very inspired picks with both Dallo and Milinkovic.
Yeah.
I think the Xerxes one was a bit like, okay, you know,
Yeah.
uh, in the sense that, you know, it's been kind of tough also to sort of realize which, like, it seems to be now that Xerxes and Hyland are going to get to play sort of together, but it's been sort of like this wild rotation there. So a bit of an inspired pick. I'm surprised that he didn't go for at least Marmoush. I would have
He
figured
actually
that he
has
might have tried.
Marmoush. He actually has Marmoush in his proper team as well. Like he's gonna get
Okay.
Marmoush back for next game week. So I think it just like because what we did, I was actually with him when he did the wildcard team. I didn't really do anything. I just took out all the players that he had already in his team, and then he was able to fill in whoever he wanted to fill in for his team, basically. And I think he just like pretty quickly like, oh, I need a Man United player. Like he basically did it like, I want triple Man United, so he went Bruno Fernandes, obviously, defended a lot, and then like, oh, Xerxes, let's go. Then he went triple West Ham because yeah, figured West Ham you should have them as well. Bowen, Kudus, and Wan-Bissaka from them. And then he basically filled in the gaps. Ødegaard, for example, and Strand Larsen, two Norwegians, makes sense. They had decent games as well. Chris Wood, he knows about at least, even though he hasn't really had the most luck with him. Milenkovic also actually in his team already, and yeah, he just says always when it comes to defenders, he just says like, I want someone who is tall and can score from corners, and Milenkovic fits the bill, and it worked out this time as well. So that's basically like how he made his team, basically. But yeah, that's the story of how he didn't get Marmoush and still had some other players. But I think actually he was pretty set on Xerxes. I think Strand Larsen would be the one that would drop out if he had Marmoush. So yeah, he actually gained 1 point from that compared to Marmoush. But yeah, anyways, get back to your message to my dad, I guess.
Yeah, I think one of the other things that I could certainly point out is the fact that I thought it was a bit of an inspired pick to go Wan-Bissaka over Karikas. You know, when Karikas has been pretty decent in regards to his form and just general play, and looks like he's going to become one of the best left backs in the world. Blah blah blah. Like he's being hyped up like crazy. Not that I disagree with it. I just think that you know maybe give it a like Claver's having the season of his life as well, but like he's
Yeah,
been notoriously shit for the last couple of years and stuff like that. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's super great that these guys are playing the sort of Iriola sort of way of football. That's really fun and exciting and all this type of stuff. But let's not like overly get ahead of ourselves in terms of how good these players are. But yeah, that's the one thing I would say. I think he's also a big chungus for not having Bellegarde. If you're going to go with Strand Larsen, why don't you also randomly have Bellegarde to get 2 assists and the bonus too? I can't believe that. That's very silly from your dad. The other thing I would say is, you know, you have Bird Leno. Why would you go Raya over him? 13 points, 6 points.
yeah, right, I got
Just
six
kidding. Now I'm
points.
just, now I'm just messing, obviously. So I think generally speaking, this is as good of a free hit as you could ever ask for. Like 8 points from 100, like that's crazy. The
Yeah,
only knack that I'll give him is, yeah, that's a lot of West Ham players. Bowen perfectly makes sense.
yeah.
But if you're gonna have Kudos, surely, surely, you'd pick Suchek over him, especially because he's playing Everton.
Yeah, could have done that as well. I think it was just like pretty quick, just like Bowen, Kudus, like he just saw the names and just filled them in basically. And Wan-Bissaka he's a huge
Yeah.
fan of because my dad, when it comes to fandom, it's pretty interesting. Like he is originally a Man United fan from back in the day. Was huge into Solskjaer and stuff back in the 90s, even though he's much older than that as well. But yeah, so he was a super like was a Man United fan back in the day. He's sort of taken over West Ham as well as one of his favorite teams as well because of me, because I'm a West Ham fan, obviously. And then lately, he's been like super into Arsenal because he's a pretty big fan of Ødegaard, and he's also not a big fan of Liverpool. He kind of hates Liverpool, as he should. And he is like obsessed. Like now he's like always on Facebook Reels and like watching like videos of like Arsenal getting screwed by the referees and stuff. And like he's like such a big biased like Arsenal favored guy in the top spots there. So yeah, it's pretty interesting to see. So yeah, he had triple Arsenal actually because Neto is on the bench as his backup goalkeeper in case Raya didn't play, and Ødegaard obviously. Triple Man United, triple West Ham. It sort of made sense for a free hit for him in Game 29 to go with those three teams having decent fixtures. Like I mean, Arsenal fixture isn't the best. It's Chelsea, but still got 5 points from Ødegaard, 6 points from Raya. And yeah, you say Wan-Bissaka is potentially a mistake over Kirkis, but at the same time, like if it wasn't for that late O'Brien goal, Wan-Bissaka probably would have had a clean sheet and potentially bonus points as well. I'm not quite sure if he would have gotten bonus, but yeah, he's up there in terms of bonus as well. So almost worked out,
Sure.
even with Wan-Bissaka. So yeah, the one thing actually that I think he could have had as well is your boy Elanga, because he is also like a former Man United player, someone that he likes as well, likes to watch play. So yeah, Elanga over Kudus would have been just over the top amazing if he had done that. And realistically, he could have done that. And Marmouche over the likes of Xerxes, for example. So there are ways to make it even better, but 92 points. Can't really complain on the free hit. Fantastic score for my dad, which is, yeah, happy to see that. Pretty fun. Also watching the Man United game with Fernandes as captain. Both me and him had Bruno Fernandes as captain. And on top of that, he had that Dalot assist for Bruno Fernandes for the final goal as well, which was, yeah, the icing on the cake, I guess, for both the game week and yeah, the game and everything in between. So happy times for the family. Good game week for both of us, but especially him with 92 points. So congratulations to my dad. But with that out of the way, we have talked about Gaming 29, which is quite a while ago now. So let's go and look into the future. Not just the immediate future for Gaming 30, but also a bit beyond that with the fixture ticker. We have the fixtures from Gaming 30 all the way up until Gaming 35. And they are going to be some interesting game weeks, because we have Gaming 32, which is a confirmed double game week. We know Newcastle will play double game week against Man United and Crystal Palace at home. We know Crystal Palace will have the double game week against Man City and Newcastle at home. Two pretty difficult games, but Crystal Palace are also one of the most informed teams in the league right now, as you can see from the expected goals and expected goals conceded. They've actually had the best expected goals the last 6 matches, and the third best expected goals from the last 6 matches, or third best expected goals conceded from the last 6 matches. So they're in really good form, so who knows what will happen with Crystal Palace in those tougher games eventually. We'll also get a double game week in 33, most likely. We haven't had that confirmed yet, but that will be made up out of the fixtures that that are not played in Game Week 34. So you can see a couple of fixtures there in Game Week 34 that are marked with yellow font, and that means that those fixtures are liable to be blanks in Game Week 34 and then become doubles in Game Week 33 as well. So yeah, quite a lot of fixtures here to take note of, I guess. Also, just to take a look at the different teams. We are both on the wildcard, so it's pretty interesting to look at the best teams with the best fixtures and see what we can get from them. So yeah, I figured you can just go through basically, I think, first and foremost, the two teams that have double game weeks in Newcastle and Crystal Palace. Which players are you looking for in those two teams in particular? Like, how many players are you considering from each of those two teams?
From Crystal Palace and which team, sorry?
Newcastle, top of the table with the double game week in 32.
Yeah, I mean, I think the truth be told, Newcastle 3 and Crystal Palace currently 2. The two that I have, or actually no, I'm lying, 3 from Crystal Palace as well.
Goalkeeper as well.
Yes, so I do have Henderson, Munoz, and Mateta. I do have Dan Burn and
Save a chest.
Isak. Oh,
Dan Burn.
oh, Berninho. What am I saying? Oh, yes. Anthony Gordon, the piece of shit, and
Yeah, that's true.
Alexander Isak. So yeah. So in terms of having triple up, I guess I actually do have a triple up from both
Yep.
teams. It's just a question of how much I will rely on that Crystal Palace one, because I feel like I like their games, but I don't really love them, if that makes sense. Like, I get it that they have multiple chances at these games, and of course, with Glasner, you never sort of know. Sometimes, they're like a two, so sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit, and it's very obvious when they're good, and it's very obvious when they're shit. So it's gonna be really tough to see, because I think, like, I really hate City away and Newcastle away, for example. Like, I genuinely hate that. I do love Southampton away. Chef's kiss. I do love Brighton at home, because that can be sort of kamikaze as all fucking hell. I just don't love their matches going forward. So
Still a double game week in 32 though, and potentially a double game week in
yes.
33 as well. If they go through in the cup, they will, since Arsenal are still in the Champions League, they will get a double game week 33 if they go through and beat Fulham in the cup. So could be 2 double game weeks in a row. So even though it is really tough fixtures, City away, Newcastle away, Bournemouth at home, Arsenal away, it's still 4 fixtures in, or 4 matches in 2 game weeks, which is still good.
Yeah, but if they end up losing, I mean, that's the thing. It's just a question of whether we believe that they're going to do good enough to be able to keep clean sheets and like clean sheets and all that stuff. I don't think so, considering the matches they
Yeah.
are playing. So I'm gonna have to have a little bit of a thinky think of
Would you
what I want.
potentially get?
I think I missed out. Honestly, I think I missed out on the right time to have these players. To be honest.
Yeah, I mean, you do have triple right now with 2 defenders from Palace.